Welcome back guys, GTS Garage. Today we are going to look at the brakes as part of the 30,000 mile service. So in a 30,000 mile service, what your garage will do will be to open the caps of your reservoirs on the left and the right, so your brake reservoir and your clutch reservoir. They will just look at the colour of the liquid and the consistency of the liquid and make a decision whether that needs changing or not. And this is something you are able to do at home, so you don't need really them to do that. So we will look at the conditions. The next thing they will do is they will shine a light inside the brake calipers to make sure there's enough meat on each of the pads, and that will be all they will do. Now we're going to do one step of that, so we're going to remove the caliper from the brake, take a look inside, we're going to give them a clean and give them a wash out, and I'm just going to go through that process today. If they need changing or if there is a fault, we are going to address that as we find them. So, enough wafflage, let's crack on. Okay, so we are going to start on the right hand side of the bike, but it's exactly the same for both sides. So basically I'm going to do the right hand side, I'm going to do the left hand side, and then I'm going to do the rear. But on camera, well, I'm only going to show you to do the right hand side of the bike and the rear. Now, the reason we're starting on the right hand side of the bike is there is a funny little quirk on the right hand side of the bike that you need to be aware of on the Triumph Trophy. I don't know if it's across models, but certainly on the Triumph Trophy, and it's to do with the link brakes. Now on the right hand side, on a Triumph Trophy, you have basically 4 pots on each side. On each caliper there are 4 pots. Now, when you apply the front brake, the 4 pots on the left hand side all activate, and the 2 pots, the top 2 pots on the right hand side activate. So say again, when you activate the front brake, the top 2 pots on the right hand side activate, the bottom 2 pots do not. So when you're cleaning the right hand side caliper and you're pressing the brake in, you won't see movement on that back, those bottom 2 pots. The bottom 2 pots are linked to the rear brake. Strange that it is only on one side, but that's the way they've designed it. When you apply the rear brake gets applied and the bottom 2 pots on the right hand caliper get applied. So if you're trying to ease those pots out to clean, you need to be using the back brake. Right, that's the quirkness out of the way. Let's crack on with the clean. So the first thing we're going to do is just loosen off the pins that hold the brake pads in. Perfect. The other thing to do, and I just should mention this, is only do one side at a time. Don't take everything out all at once. Now I'm going to wear gloves for this, and the reason I'm going to wear gloves is because we're going to start messing around with brake cleaner. And to be absolutely honest, brake cleaner isn't that good stuff. Nor is the brake dust that comes out of this stuff. So some people wear masks, some people don't, some people wear gloves, some people don't. It is completely up to you. I'm not going to tell you what you should and what you shouldn't do. You're all grown adults. So with my gloves hand now, I've loosened off those things. I'm now going to take the retaining bolts that hold the caliper onto the disc. I'm going to take that off. I'm going to get a little pot, so I'm going to get a pot that I can put everything in so I don't lose everything. So that's the top one. Now I've loosened these off already, as you can tell, because I wouldn't be undoing these with my fingers if they weren't loosened. Fantastic, and we're just going to see if it comes off. There you go, these come out fine. So what I'm now going to do is just remove the, keeping you in the camera, I'm going to take the Allen key and just remove the pins. With the pins removed, holding on to putting your hands underneath to catch the disc because you have the brake pads, because you don't want the brake pads just to tumble on the floor. We're now going to remove those pins, if I can get in. It's because of that. Up. There you go, pull those pins out, put those in there, keep the clips in. With the brake pads out, we're now going to place something between the pots to make sure that the pots don't completely remove the caliper. If they do, you are going to have to bleed the system and refill with brake fluid. So all we're going to do is we're going to put something in between, which I'm going to use this long spanner. And then I am going to activate the front brake and the back brake to make sure that the pots come out. I don't know if you can see that because of my hand, but basically they are now coming out, and we want to make sure they come out a fair way, because the idea is to come out, clean them before pushing them back in, otherwise you're going to push all that dirt underneath the seal. So that's the front one. As I remember what I was saying, the pots at the top are to do with the front brake. The pots on the bottom are to do with the rear brake, and as you can see, by activating the front brake, these rear pots haven't moved. So again, putting the spanner between, I'm now going to activate the rear brake, which should then bring out those two bottom pots. Okay, so as you can see now, all the pots are out where you're able to clean them. So we're just going to take good old-fashioned soapy water, and because it's good old Triumph, you can get in both sides. So take full advantage of the fact that you can get all the way 360 around these. Alright, so they're dry. So that do have some brake clean here as well. So we're just gonna, this is why I wear gloves. Okay, so what we're gonna do is just take thumbs and push these pots back into place. So, the pads, not bad, but they've still got plenty of meat on. So all I'm going to do is just take a toothbrush, just clean off the gunk that's gathered. Just to highlight, this isn't just about cleaning. So we're not just doing this to clean, we're doing this to visually inspect the pieces. If there is any if there's anything wrong with the piece that you're cleaning, so you're uncovering the dirt, you're taking those layers of dirt away, you're looking for cracks, you're looking for chips. If there is anything that it doesn't look like it's good, doesn't look like it's as good as new, replace. These things are pennies, so you know, don't take risks. So clean, some brake cleaner, some wet and dry, okay, so assembly is just like disassembly. So we are going to put the pads up, put the pads in one at a time. Put them in both at a time if you're really flash. Take those, lay that one on top, turn it over, make sure they are both in. Then we're going to take the retaining clip. I'm just going to put the retaining clip in place. It's very obvious once you get in there that which way it all goes. I'm then going to take the pin with a little bit of copper slip along the pin and slide that in to where the pins go, which is there, and with a little bit of push that will then go through, and it will be obvious when it's through right, because your pads won't fall out. With the pin in place, ready to go, I'm going to take another tiny little bit of copper grease and I'm just going to put it on the threads. It doesn't have to be all round, it can actually just be on the surface that you can see, because as the pin goes in, it is going to spread that copper grease around. Right, now take a little bit of towel and have a little bit of a tidy up. everything. So your pots are now clean, your pads are now clean, you've cleaned up your brake pad caliper. Everything looks like that. We're now going to put the caliper back onto the disc. Okay guys, so that is it. That is how easy it is. The last remaining actions on that are to tighten up the caliper bolts to 50 Newton meters and tighten up the caliper pins to 18 Newton meters. The only other job you need to do then is to check the reservoir and make sure that the levels are correct. That is the front. I'm not going to do the rear in the same video, and the reason is because this video is always about 12 minutes long, and to be honest, once it gets over 12 minutes long, they're not good. They just become very difficult to upload and they're time consuming. So the rear brake will be another video after this. So hopefully people have found that helpful, and I shall see you on the road. You take it easy. Goodbye.